Good morning, subscribers and viewers. I hope you're all having a wonderful Friday morning. Today, I'm going to respond to a few questions that we got pertaining to legalizing people stay in South Africa. My name is Mxolisi Ncube. I'm a journalist based in Johannesburg, and I'm at your service. Um, Before we go on with this broadcast, may I kindly request you to subscribe to this channel, to like this video and share it. The question that we got is from somebody who says that they've been working in South Africa. They were on a permanent, in fact, they were on a critical skills visa, but now the visa requirements in that section has uh, has been raised, and they no longer qualify. I will read the question in full. Um, so they are saying that the last time before the publication of the latest critical skills visa, they qualified. Yeah, it says, I have a critical skills visa that I renewed last year in October. I renewed my 5-year visa last year. My skill previously required NQF4, now in the NQF6, and no longer qualified. Can I apply for permanent residence permit, and which one? Now, if you qualified and you worked for 5 years in South Africa legally, you then qualify to apply for a permanent residence permit. I will go through the requirements for that. But for as long as you've been here for 5 years working in South Africa, uh, you then qualify to apply for a permanent residence permit. But there are also some requirements that you also need to satisfy. But this does not apply to those who were on the Zimbabwe exemptions permit, which began as the DZP, Zimbabwe Dispensation Permit, and later changed to the Zimbabwe Special Permit, the ZSP, and then became the Zimbabwe Exemption Permit. If you were on that permit, it doesn't matter that you've been changing with the change of the permit for the past 11 to 12 years. You don't qualify, and the reason being, uh, the special permit for Zimbabweans was introduced and rolled out outside the confines of the Immigration Act of South Africa, which means most of the people who got this permit did not qualify to have, be it a work, uh, study, or a business permit in South Africa according to the Immigration Act. So this was a special dispensation. This was some special treatment that we got from the South African government after they understood our problems as Zimbabweans, especially our economic problems. So they said that because we were flooding the asylum seeker system and causing some backlogs there, when in fact most of those that were applying were actually economic and not political refugees. They then said, how best then can we handle this situation without having to send Zimbabweans who don't qualify for the asylum seeker or refugee permits back home? And then they said, okay, the South African cabinet then set and said, okay, instead of sending them back home to the same situation that they ran away from, we can, in a way, show our sympathy by rolling out some permits to them that would then allow them, enable them to continue living in South Africa. For those who want to work, they can work. For those who want to do business, small businesses, they can do those businesses without having to qualify under the Immigration Act. You know that if you want to get a work visa in a business permit in South Africa, you should bring 5 million rands at least, so that you can apply for that. You will be investing in South Africa so that you can apply for a business permit. So most of those that were allowed then to have business permits under the Zimbabwe special dispensation regime did not qualify. Some students who were already here then, who could not go back home to apply through the mainstream study visa, then also got this leniency. So those who have been using the Zimbabwe exemption permit do not qualify for the permanent residence. But those who were on other permits, who have been here for 5 years, do qualify to apply for permanent residence in South Africa. I will go through the requirements, which are according to the Immigration Act. And there are 11 specific permanent residence permit categories that an applicant can fall under. Some of those categories fall sorry, under Section 26 of the Act are referred to as direct residence, and others which fall under Section 27 of the Act are referred to as residency under other grounds. So I will go through an expert analysis of this, and they say that you are eligible to apply for permanent residence if you have been in possession of work visa for at least the past 5 consecutive years, with a permanent job offer secured in South Africa. A minimum of 5 years work permits need to have been endorsed in a passport. And then intra-company transfer work visas are excluded and are not considered for this purpose. So if you have been working in South Africa under a work visa or a work permit, like this friend of ours who has been on a critical skills visa and has been here for 5 years, and according to what I understand from them is that after 5 years they then renewed again last year with an additional year before they applied for a permanent residence permit. So if you have a job offer and you've been here for more than 5 years, you are eligible to apply for the permanent residence permit. You're also eligible to apply for permanent residence permit if you have been espoused by marriage or life partnership to a South African citizen or permanent resident for at least 5 years. So if you've been a spouse of somebody who is a permanent resident in South Africa already, or someone who is a South African citizen, you then qualify to apply for permanent residence. You also qualify to apply for permanent residence if you are the child, under the age of 21 of a citizen or a permanent resident. So if you are under the age of 21 and one of your parents is a citizen of South Africa or a permanent resident, you qualify to apply for permanent residence in South Africa for a permanent residence permit. You also qualify to apply for a permanent residence permit if you are the child of any age of a citizen. So if you are a child of a South African citizen, you then qualify for permanent residence permit application. If you are eligible to apply for permanent residence if you hold a critical skills work visa, or as per critical skills listed published. Okay, you are eligible to apply for permanent residence if you hold a critical skills work visa as per critical skills list published in the Government Gazette, and you have accrued at least 5 years of post-qualification experience, not necessarily related to the critical skills. So if you are a holder of a critical skills list, a visa, which satisfies the critical skills list published in the Government Gazette, is it last week or so, and you have accrued at least 5 years of post-qualification experience, which may not even be related to the critical skills that you're applying for, then you qualify to apply for permanent residence. You'll remember that the critical skills or the migration directive that was given with a list of critical skills just recently, they said that it doesn't apply to those who have already applied prior to the publication of those critical skills. So it doesn't apply to you. You may be eligible to apply for permanent residence on the basis of your intended investment in an existing South African business, or if you intend to establish and invest in South African business. This investment should be no less than 5 million rands or a lesser amount as agreed by the DHA should the business enterprise fall within one of the prescribed national interest sectors of the South African economy. You may be eligible to apply for permanent residence on the basis that you have held refugee status in South Africa for at least the past 5 years, not an asylum seeker permit, but refugee status. For this purpose, you will require obtaining a certification from the Refugee Standing Committee confirming that you will remain a refugee indefinitely. You may be eligible to apply for permanent residence on the basis of your receipt of pensions or irrevocable annuities for the rest of your life. For example, you've been working in South Africa for the better part of your working age or of your active age, and then you retire or you resign in South Africa. Then you are entitled to some benefits. Maybe is it pension funds or whatever benefits that you get pertaining to your job that you were doing here in South Africa. Then because of that, you need to be here in South Africa. You cannot continue to get these rights or these benefits if you go back to your original, your country of origin. You then can apply for permanent residence to say, this is the situation with me. I need to be here so that I can continue to receive these annuities. You are eligible to apply for permanent residence on the basis that you can demonstrate your net worth to be equivalent to not less than 12 million rands and undertake to pay to the DHA a non-refundable once-off fee of 120,000 rands upon the approval of application. That one is self-explanatory. And then how do you apply for a permanent residence permit in South Africa? Once a foreigner is in South Africa on a long-term temporary residence visa enabling him or her to apply, he or she will be eligible to apply for permanent residence in a category they comply with. Short-term and long-term visa holders are not eligible to apply for permanent residence from within South Africa unless exceptional circumstances as regulated apply. Spousal-based visitor visa holders may, however, apply for permanent residence. So if you're on a spousal-based visa, a visitor visa, you may apply for permanent residence if your spouse already has permanent residence permit or they are a citizen of South Africa. The submission category of a permanent residence permit application may, in some cases, also determine the type of long-term visa for the foreigner, which the foreigner must hold to comply with the permanent residence application specific requirements. Applications for permanent residence made in terms of Section 26 bracket A of the Immigration Act, for instance, require the foreign applicant to be in possession of a work category visa at the time of submission. Applications made in terms of Section 27 bracket B of the Act require the foreign applicant to be in possession of a critical skills work visa. No minimum period of work in South Africa is required to comply with this category of permanent residence. So I think our colleague is answered there, especially at the last point. So I hope that this then answers a host of people who may be having the same question which has been raised by this colleague of ours. So what it means is that you can apply for permanent residence permit in South Africa, and provided that, as you say, your visa qualified then when you applied for your permanent, your critical skills visa, you took 5 years working in South Africa, you renewed again last year before the publication of the latest critical skills, you can apply again. You may try your luck, apply for a permanent residence permit, and if you are employed already, your company can assist you to apply also for a waiver. So thank you very much. I hope you understood. If you didn't understand, or if there's some questions again that popped up as we spoke here, you are free to comment on the comment section ask any more questions and we will respond to them in the next broadcast. Thank you very much.